permits that have been pulled through the city?
I don't believe they're all city. I think some of them are on the other side of the street.
Okay, that may be our discrepancy. So some of these permits were pulled for the villas in the township.
I believe so. And
Do we know okay, so the numbers may indeed agree if I take those out, right?
I don't agree, but
You don't agree with what?
no, I think there's more than 174 pulled for the city.
Okay, but there's a difference if I have 391 and 174, and if I have 174 and 180. And what I'm trying to get at is how many of those permits, in terms of the number that you've given me, have been pulled by or were pulled in the township as opposed to being pulled in the city?
I can't give you that answer off the top of my head. I can just tell you that they've gotten 120 COCs in the township in the last couple of months.
In the township.
In order to get, and that is how we were able to relocate as many people as we did into the villas. It's because those are all certified units.
Okay, I understand that, but I'm working on the Ipsy side of the road. And I'm trying to figure out how many permits were pulled of that. Well, however you want to look at it, how many of the 391 are permits for the villas as opposed to how many of those are permits for Arbor One West?
And I don't have that number. I don't have it.
So let me ask this, Mr. Mayor. If I take your number of the 174, I think you said permits, if all of those permits were pulled, the work done, and then I realize they haven't been finalized, but if they were finalized, would that overall have satisfied the repairs that would have been needed to these units?
I would put in there that the work that was in the court order was compliant.
Pardon?
I would put in my notes that the work that the court order would have been. But I have 13 units that no permits have been pulled of all of these, so, and probably about 4 more where it's just an electrical permit, which would require also building permits. And this is as of yesterday.
As of yesterday.
Yes.
So, Mr. Friedman, do you know anything about those 13 units where there's no permits that have been pulled?
Other than the prospect that the work that needed to be done didn't need to be permitted, no. Not everything that had to be repaired or whatever has to get.
No, but the question that I asked is, maybe I'll clarify. Mr. Mayor, the 13 units that you talk about, the work that needed to be completed would require permits.
Yes.
And you're indicating to the court that those permits for those 13 units had not been pulled.
Correct. We go to those specifically or what we observed.
Yeah, hold on. We may do that.
The courtroom is the great equalizer. Everyone's the same height when they're standing before the bench. Titles, money, influence, they all shrink under oath. And for a moment, everyone's just a voice fighting to be believed.
And you don't know anything about those, Mr. Freeman. You or your client don't.
I am not blissfully ignorant. I'm ignorant.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So those 13 units, as we talk about those 13 units, you don't know what those, which units those are, or do you?
I just know that everybody's been relocated.
I know after some effort, we've gotten at least to that point.
Your Honor, I actually think that's not correct. Well, maybe it is. I'm sorry. I'll retract that statement. I do know that at least one tenant that I spoke with this morning has continuing issues with her unit, and she's got a hotel through Wednesday. That may be extended today pursuant to the court's order. We'll see.
Well, I thought we took care of that issue regarding the hotel and the extension. I thought we took care of how that's to be handled at the last hearing we were at.
We addressed it, Your Honor.
All right. So the other, so of those units, is there a reason why the city hasn't done a final inspection on those units?
We've not been scheduled.
Okay, well, who would do the scheduling? Okay.
We can't issue, we can't do an inspection until we are called out to do an inspection. And sometimes a lot of this work requires a rough inspection and a final inspection. We also have observed and we've asked the people pulling the permit, so they're actually not adequately stating the costs of the work being done, because building permits are based on the cost. And so in the vast majority of the cases, the claiming the work to be done is $500 to $1,000. And the work is expanding and they're required to update their permit and they're not doing that. So some of these permits are getting suspended for not doing that.
But, I mean, the reality is they're putting that cost on there so that they don't necessarily have to pay a whole lot of money,
Correct.
right? I mean, okay. So on those units that are claimed that, why hasn't a final inspection been called for then?
On a number of units, Your Honor, we have asked them to come out and inspect. We have 2 buildings we believe are ready to be recertified, and the city has refused to do the final inspections. They're claiming that we have to pay a bunch of fines from basically $600 per unit, which comes to about for condemnation, I guess. So they want about over $250,000 from us in order to come and re-inspect.
For 2 buildings?
No, two. They won't re-inspect, period, until we pay the $274,000 that they want.
That is.
Okay.
So the property manager has asked the city to reschedule an inspection schedule for June. We did reschedule an inspection in March. When we went out there, none of the work was done. Majority of the work was not done. And so they were asking for us to come in especially to do an additional inspection and reschedule a bunch of other people's inspections. And we said, there has to be some good faith in doing that. As far as final inspections as it relates to building permits, we've never predicated any sort of fee payment outside of paying for your permits to come do the final inspections on these direct units. This was to do an entire building re-inspection that is already scheduled for July 8th. And so they wanted us to push that up and reschedule other people's inspections. And so we said, at this point, until all of your permits are pulled for this building to get it done, there's no point in us rescheduling inspection.
Drama isn't in the shouting, it's in the pause, the look between the lawyer and the witness, the shuffle of notes, the unspoken panic of realizing the truth just slipped out by accident.
That are not going to fail.
We have 2 buildings that are ready to go to get people back in, get people rehoused. And they are ready, they should be ready for finals in the week to 2 weeks.
Which two buildings are those?
720 Green and 721 Clark.
720 Green. And which one?
721 West Clark.
We still have building permits that have not been pulled or suspended. Well, it's no buildings. Of work that needs to be done.
Okay, so is the landlord aware, or the owner aware of the permits that need to be pulled?
The landlord has pushed back on a lot of the permits that need to be pulled, saying they do not need them for drywall repair and for electrical repair. And we have indicated to the property manager, who has agreed with us, that they do need to pull those permits, but the landlord is not being cooperative.
So, okay. Let's just deal with 720 Green and 721 West Clark. Where you're indicating that there are permits that would need to be pulled to complete the work that was outstanding on those units.
Correct.
Mr. Friedman, you're indicating that all of the permits necessary to repair those units have been pulled and that they're ready for the inspection.
There's obviously is a disagreement, but in the 20 years that this property manager.
Obviously, what disagreement? Because I don't.
That what permits are required or necessary. We believe that the ones that have been pulled. There is apparently a disagreement as to what is required. There is clearly, in this particular set of circumstances with these units, these buildings, clearly permits are being required that have not traditionally ever been required by.
Such as?
Your Honor, I have to object. He's
Drywall repairs.
not offering actual testimony from anyone, and
He's trying to answer the court's inquiry. So, I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I.e. drywall repairs. The disputes are numerous because the fly specking that's been taken, that the city has taken with respect to requiring permits has become onerous, and it's very expensive. These are not $50 permits. And so it's becoming almost a money grab, not almost a money grab by the city to require all of these permits for these small repairs that have not traditionally been required.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that then you disagree with the fact that I need a permit, but since we didn't need the permit, we went ahead and did the work.
In some cases, I think that's correct.
Well, let's just deal with 720 and 721. It seems to me what you're telling me is that where we disagreed with the city for the need for a permit, we went in and did the work because we didn't believe that permit was required.
Clarification. We were asked for the inspections to take place in a couple of weeks because we do still have to finish a few things, which would be permit required. So we've not done pulling permits for these last couple of things, these last few things.
Okay. Say that to me again. Where I was before I asked the last question was you said that the work had been completed and that they're ready to be inspected.
I did say in a couple of weeks.
Drama isn't in the shouting, it's in the pause. The look between the lawyer and the witness, the shuffle of notes, the unspoken panic of realizing the truth just slipped out by accident.
There's some final things that need to be done, and some of them will require permits. But part of the inspection process, as you know, just probably better than I do, is that sometimes you call for your inspection and they come out and they say, okay, you've got your 90%, your 95%. These are the 6 ticked items that you need to finish to get your final. And so to some extent, you're asking for the inspection so that you can A, pass, or B, be given us a list of things to complete and get re-inspected. That's where I think we are with 720 and 721.
So what you're saying, let me just rephrase it. We need them to come out and do the inspection so we know what needs to be done so that we can do it and then get the final inspection.
And we think we're close anyway. Yes.
And the city won't do that because,
So, number one, there's a lot of pending litigation. However, with these buildings, we went out and inspected with 2 property project managers and indicated all of the issues we have that this was done end of March. Walked through every property, went through everything, which is a pretty, I mean, the 2 inspections we're looking at like 30 pages of still things that need to be done. If we were close on these, it would probably be less than half of that, but there are 24 units per building. We're still seeing, and which we continue to see in all these units, a lot of lack of smoke detectors, a lot of units under construction without permits, some have permits, bath fans still not working, that the ceiling needs to be repaired, permits being pulled, or permits have just been pulled. And so with our report, we do get into some doors and some flooring issue, which are property maintenance issues, but we do have, while we do have a lot of units under construction, we don't dispute that. We still are writing out letters to ensure that the boiler and the buildings are working. We've had a lot of problems with the heat when it's building wide heat and the fins being damaged and covers missing. And we're waiting on some letters from a boiler saying that the boiler will work properly. We're still seeing leaks in units. We're still seeing ceilings in disrepair. And this is the 2 buildings they are speaking of. And so I'm not saying they haven't come a long way. They have. But no building permit has been filed. There's still a lot of outstanding plumbing and electrical permits out there.
but it seems to me that with reference to those 2 buildings and the units that would be with this court, what the landlord's asking is for and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Freeman, they're asking for an inspection to basically give us our checklist of what else we need to do. And then we want to complete that.
Yes, and I believe that I'm looking at the inspections that the city's provided, and the last one was March 25th.
So this building was scheduled for April. They asked us to push it up because they indicated the building was done. When we did that, we gave them the checklist of what needed to be done prior to us coming back up.
Got it.
The checklist they're looking for is right here.
And the checklist, so are you indicating that's been completed? The March 25th, I think you said?
Could Attorney Deputy Legion Gordon speak? She's been following the code enforcement and permit process throughout this on behalf of
The landlord.
Good morning, Your Honor. So I'm
So I guess the answer is yes. Go ahead.
So looking at these 2 documents that Mr. Mars provided, 720 Green and 720 Clark.
Hold on, Counsel. Need a name and P number.
Oh, Deputy Gordon Lehman, P83909.
Thank you.
But it's okay. Looking at these 2 documents, the one from 720 Green on February 25th. So almost 2 months ago, and the one for 720 is from almost 2 months ago. So although they gave us this checklist, the landlord's contention is that they have worked through this checklist. So we're asking for them to move up the CFC reinspection. It's currently scheduled for, I believe, June 6th or 9th? 15. And so the request has been made to move it up to no later than, I believe, May 5th. Because we believe that at that point, these buildings will be ready, the permits, if any, will be pulled. From my understanding, there's finalizing some of the permits with regards to the cost, and getting them final. But if the goal here is to get these tenants into nice, new, beautiful buildings that have CFCs.
I don't know that that's the goal, but go ahead.
I mean, that's been the position from my understanding, the city is to get these tenants in buildings that have CFCs. You know, we can't find a reason why, you know, getting them out there to do these inspections when they're at the property almost every day anyway, would be unreasonable. The goal is to get.
So why won't the city go out and just inspect or set the appointment
So,
for 7/20 and 7/21?
so first off, as the, Mr. Freeman did know, there's substantial costs that the owner has not paid for any of the inspections that we've done out there at this point. And so we do need to see these come in. On top of that, because there's a cost to run, like building permit has to fund itself by state law. And so because they're not paying any of the fees for these inspections, that is concern number one. Concern number two is the time aspect. And just to be clear, while the inspection notice does indicate February 2025, when we were out there on April 2nd to do the inspection of 720 Green, no work had been done from February 25th. Once again, we pulled this building up already to do the work. And until we see the permits pulled and final, there's, in the city's position, going out and rescheduling everyone's schedule to do an inspection where permits aren't pulled yet is a concern that we have. Because that would be, it's a lot of time and manpower to go into these buildings and do inspections, 24 units or now 48 units. That takes about a day. And we already have inspections scheduled daily until then.
Courtrooms aren't quiet. They hum. A mix of tension, whispers, and someone's pen nervously clicking. It's not just paperwork happening here. It's lives being rewritten in real time, one sentence at a time.
So why haven't the permits been pulled yet?
It's my.
I'm just saying 7/20 and 7/21. Let's just deal with those.
I mean, it's my understanding that there have been permits pulled, and right now there's been dealing with issues of financial aspect of it, finalizing certain permits. And again, we're asking for the re-inspection to be moved earlier, which is not today.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, and correct me, Mr. Myers, if I'm incorrect in this, they would do that if they saw certain things. They'd move the inspection up. One would be the pulling of the permits, right? That's one thing.
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay. And then there's this other financial piece, which figure out at some point. But my question on the permits, if that's one criteria, why can't that be done prior to them scheduling?
The information that we have is that it's been the financial aspect. You know, this is the first time I'm hearing from Mr. Myers that there's an issue where.
All right, counsel, what do you mean by financial aspect?
Pay these fines and we will come out at that point, as opposed to.
Fines or the permits?
Or fines. Pay this money owed to the city, and we will consider moving the.
Okay, let me ask, okay, I hear you. So is there a way regarding whatever these other costs to attribute a certain portion of that to these buildings?
The permits are the number one concern we have, that we're having.
Not my question.
Yeah.
I need an answer to my question. Because what council's indicating to me is that there are these fines and other costs outside of the permits, right?
Right.
And what I'm saying, how many buildings are out there? 10, was it?
At the property 18.
Okay, so whatever that big figure is there a way of taking 1/19 and 1/18 per building at this point, saying, or two reteens, or coming up with some figure that this is what would need to be paid at this point. And then we can set the inspection.
We are willing to work under what the court would like us to do. We are willing to talk to them. Our number one concern is getting the permits pulled, and I know that you've already said that. As far as the fees go, no building can have any fees owed before a permit certificate is issued. And so, because we have done many inspections out there and not received any funding, any of the money for those inspections, that would have to be paid at least, but
At least what?
at least the money for all the inspections and the outstanding fines for occupying without a certificate prior to a reinspection.
All right, so that I'm clear, at least in terms of what you said. They would need to pay for the permits to do the work. And then whatever fees or these other costs for 720 and 721 would need to be paid.
We would prefer actually all of the fines be paid, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, then, can somebody answer my question? If everybody understands what I'm saying, sometimes I talk too like complicated. All I'm trying to say is if there are 18, 19 buildings, there would be a number of different ways of doing that. Either you can attribute it to each building and I can say, this is what's coming from this building. Or I can just say, I'm not sure what's coming from the building, but some of it's in the aggregate, some of it's this. And then I take that big number and I just divide it by 18.
We can attribute it to each building. We can.
Okay, so do they know how much these other fees and fines and costs are for 720 and 721?
I would have to say yes. Because they get all the same.
Okay, so, okay, I know what you're gonna say. Council?
We don't have that exact number. It could be total. At this point, we've just been instructed.
I could say that it might just simply be simpler to do 2/18 to get it done.
I think I said that like 15 minutes ago.
You did, didn't you?
It's also our.
God, it's hard being brilliant like me. Anyway, go ahead, Rod.
It's also our understanding, Your Honor, that kind of breakdown information has been requested from the city manager as of last week, and the property manager was told that they would get back to them. So
Of what type of breakdown?
regarding the fines associated with the buildings.
With each building? Or overall?
If truth had a sound, it'd be that awkward shuffle when someone realizes they've said too much. In law, silence isn't golden, it's dangerous. Because silence usually means someone's calculating their next move.
So the request was everything broken down per building. And the information we have is that we would get back with you. And we don't have that information as of today.
That is correct. The owner, judge, just to be very, the owner or the manager has requested several reports from the city constantly. When they have full access to all the information we have online. And so while our staff is very small, and we are trying to do a lot with a little, it does take time for us to run these reports.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying, folks. I realize all of this is difficult. All of these folks that have had to move, there's been a difficulty and painful for everyone. If you give me the numbers, I'll do the math. I'm not going to say it's going to be right on the other end, but I'll do the math. That's why I became a lawyer, so I didn't have to, but I can add, I think. I'm just saying, can't you come up with a number that's attributable to 720 and 721?
Yes.
How soon, how fast can you come up with that number and give it to them?
I mean,
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out why that takes so long.
Because the system that we use has a glitch that is being fixed on this update, and so I cannot run an Excel report. So it would have to be gone through manually, like they could do as well, to add up all of these numbers for all of these buildings. And even with these.
No. I'm just saying for these two buildings.
Yes, no, and I'm just saying, I can assure everyone at the end of the week, but realistically, it would be me and who's in the office, an audience, actually doing this, because, once again.
Okay, so hold on. Somewhere. Somewhere there are these, let me just take set for these buildings, for these two. Somewhere there are these fees that are attributable to this building,
Yes.
right? They would be categorized by something that is attributable to 720 or 721, right?
Yes.
Are you telling me those aren't all in one spot?
So the way the system works is, it is all within a system called BSNA. When they did their April update, it locked us out of running Excel reports. And I asked them to fix that, and we're hoping that fix is done by the second update.
Okay, then if that's the case, then how can I be here saying you guys need to do this and you're requesting two things from them to accomplish this task, but one of them you can't give to them?
So the city has sent them all of the invoices for all of these. So it's not like the city's not sent them the invoices. They received every invoice for all of these inspections and fees. And so because they have received all of the same documentation, they get this paper.
Somebody should be able to give me a number. It's crazy. Doesn't even make any sense to me.
Part of the issue as well as the city is, saying that there's late fees associated with some of these. And so that would be something that they would have, but we don't have that number. So
We don't have what number?
whatever the late fees, the city intends on charging for any of these fines. And so in order to get a proper number regarding what it would take to get any of the buildings or the two buildings, that number would have to come from the city, which is why it was requested from the city.
Oh, for God's sakes, folks. Then what's the principal amount without the late fees? How do you not have that number? I mean, you just told me that it's the late fees that cause the problem.
Your Honor, if I understand correctly, it sounds like this is publicly available information, so I don't understand what's preventing
Look,
gathering it.
everybody is just causing a problem, it seems to be here. Because the reality is there's a number somewhere out there. Counsel, I know that you computed a number because you would have had to give that risk assessment to your client. I'm not asking for what you talked about with your client. I'm just saying you have a ballpark figure of what it is. You just told me you're waiting on what those late fees are. It seems everybody is delaying for the purpose of just delaying.
The city has issued 750 violations, so it would involve.
So how long is it gonna take you to add up 750 numbers?
I mean, I believe.
I'm gonna step off the bench. Somebody, and I'm gonna come back and somebody give me a number for these two buildings. I don't care if the two of you come to different numbers, then I'll figure it out. But somebody give me a number for these two buildings, for that part of it. And then in terms of the permits, do you know what the cost of the permits are that you have to do?
Look at that number as well.
Okay, I'm gonna stand in recess. Somebody get me a number.
Different matter.
Okay.